Hello. Wow. I remember before when I was in high school, I was a kid, and a friend of mine, we were going to visit a teacher because their husband is a dentist. And, I was in the business of landscaping, so on the weekend, I would take advantage of that during my weekends. So my friend asked me, hey, you want to go to their house? And we asked the teacher, today we're going to come to your house. And the teacher was thrilled to have us. But they told us that, my maid is home, so, let me call and make sure that you're on your way. So as we're driving, we get there. Their house was up on a hill. And so we both get out the car and we go to the backyard. And, they have steps that lead to the backyard. And we, had to use the bathroom. So we knocked on the glass window and we saw that the maid was in there. We were waving to the maid, so that we can use the bathroom. And the maid actually closed us out. And we just kind of looked at each other like, oh man. Obviously she doesn't know that we were coming. The teacher didn't tell her. So, I'm hyped. I'm sorry. So once we looked around, we saw that the police was there, pointing a gun at us. And I'm thinking, oh wow. I look up and I'm thinking, wow, the police is pointing a gun at us. And I put on my hearing aid. I'm sorry. It was funny in my mind, I'm thinking, wow, this is interesting. But, I had to explain to them that my teacher lives here. We came to do some yard work. And the maid came out and she clearly nervous and a little embarrassed. And I'm thinking, oh, poor thing. So we left, the police left, and, that was the end of that. Anyway, we actually didn't leave. We went back. We got back to work. Excuse me, interpreter error. We got back to work, and the teacher came home later, about 3 or 4 hours later, and we told her what happened. We're like, oh, yeah, do you know what happened? And so, clearly they didn't know what happened. We told them that the maid called the police, and the teacher was shocked. And it was funny because, the maid felt so guilty and was so embarrassed, but we told them, hey, we're okay. But, today it wouldn't be funny, but it's important to, let people know, what's going on. I always inform them, hey, can I get my hearing aid? I don't just reach for it, just so that nothing happens. I'm happy I'm still alive today. Hello. Wow. I'm looking back and, before when I was in high school, I was a young kid, and a friend of mine, both of us, we were going to a teacher's home. Her husband was a dentist, so, and at the time I was involved in, my weekend job was to do landscaping. So Wednesday after school, I asked my friend if they want to go with me to do some work for this teacher. And, we told the teacher, hey, we can go to your home today. And the teacher was thrilled. Oh, great. I'm glad you can make it. But, just to let you know, I have a maid there. I'll call her and give her a heads up that you guys are coming. So we're like, okay, cool. And we drove. We get there, and the area is, situated on the top of the hill. And we entered through the backyard gate. We were working, what we were focusing on was putting steps. She had a hill initially, and so we were installing steps. So we went to the glass window, and we looked inside, and we saw the maid. And we're waving to her, and, she locked the door abruptly. And so we realized, oh, obviously the teacher did not tell her. She seemed scared, nervous. So, I said, we'll just have to use the bathroom out here. I was, on the upper level and my friend was on the lower level. So maybe about 15, 20 minutes later, my friend on the lower level got a piece of paper or something, was waving me down. And so I looked, and I see a police officer pointing a gun at me, saying something. I clearly didn't understand what they were saying. So I'm thinking, okay, I step out and I reach, I put my hearing aid on. And I look up, and the police officer is, yelling at me with the gun pointed at me clearly. And, so I go up to the house, go up to the police. Go up to the house, and the police approaches me. And they have a helicopter and everything. And I'm thinking, wow. So I proceeded to explain to the officer, we're working for our teacher, this is what's going on, and the officer was, understanding what we were saying. The maid came out clearly nervous and embarrassed. I'm thinking, wow, poor her. Anyway, it was all over. The police left, and me and my friend, we got back to work. We talked about it, we discussed it. About an hour or so later, we stayed from 3 to 5. So finally, my teacher comes in, and she's like, hey boys, how did everything go? Is everything great? And, me and my friend go up on top of the hill and tell her, hey, what happened? And clearly she's clueless about what occurred. And we told her that the maid called the police. And they actually came with, emergency vehicles and everything. And, it was just funny. Anyway, we left, we went home, and the next morning we talked to the teacher. We asked her, hey, how's the maid doing? And she told us, oh, she felt so embarrassed, And so we told her, hey, let her know we're fine. But nowadays it's important. You can't just, pull out your hearing aid, You have to tell the cop, hey, I'm reaching for my hearing aid. It could be a dangerous situation, But anyway, I'm happy I'm still alive today.